What is going on? All right, all right, all right. All right. Got some exciting things, huh? All right. So tonight, we're going to be working on my little side project, Nowhere. And what Nowhere is, it is a social platform that allows businesses, local businesses, to promote their day-to-day events like karaoke, trivia night, game night, whatever it may be, to the local community so users can easily discover, plan for, and attend those events with friends. And one of the things you can do with Nowhere as a user is follow your favorite organizations. And I just want to add a quick little easy feature that makes it so those organizations can like send alerts directly to the users that follow them via push notification. So it's pretty straightforward. All the big stuff is already worked out. Now we just have to kind of build it and hook in, send it over to our notification API, and it should take care of it. At least for the back end. The front end will have to be built out. But I think for now we're just going to work on the back end side of things. So we have our, let me do my scroll reverser here. So we have our Edge API, and Edge API is pretty much our front-facing service for our backend. Its goal and its purpose is to not only validate authenticate and authorize the user that is making the request to the backend from the client, but also to validate those requests itself. So, making sure that incoming requests are valid. So you can see here. And that's kind of what we need to start with first. So the first thing is as you can see, we have a lot of controllers here, and that's because this is our front facing, so everything goes through Edge. Edge acts kind of like a proxy after it validates all the requests, then sends it to the correct service to actually be processed. CodeMonkey.js, why don't you just set up WAF for it? Not exactly sure what you mean in terms of this, because I want to be able to process those notifications. One thing as I will show with notification API is every source of notifications, if it's push notifications, if it's our email service, if it's whatever, gets saved in our database, so that for analytics purposes and everything like that. So like if someone sends a friend request, for example, to another user, we keep that event in the database, just so for our own metrics, as well as some of those kind of drives future metrics we want to give to businesses, so that they can have a little bit more insight on how users are interacting with their business and their business page and everything. Cool. So the first thing is, I think we don't have an actual notification controller. And the reason why we don't really have a notification controller in Edge is because this is kind of the first time a client would be driving notifications, if that makes sense. Typically in the past, notifications gets derived off of some sort of like event that happens on the platform, such as friend creates a new friend request. That's a byproduct of that is gonna send a push notification, right? Or this one is just sending a push notification directly. We could probably have it go through our like organization controller here, but I don't like that. Simply because this is just kind of meant for more of the CRUD operations of organizations. And what organizations are, it's like a subclass of companies. So you have a company, right? And the idea is a company can have multiple organizations, or like multiple locations, right? You as a business owner can own a lot of different organizations that might not necessarily, you don't want a new account for each organization, right? So that's the idea behind organizations. So I think it's a little bit better if we create our own notification controller. That's what we're going to do. So we're going to use SLF4J for our logging. We're going to do a REST controller. CodeMonkey, are you working on your startup full time? No, I'm not. This is actually something I do on the side. My full time, I work at Garmin as a software engineer for Garmin. This is something I just kind of do as a side project. I have some users using it, some business using it. It's a way for me just to itch some things that I don't get to itch, when I'm working at Garmin. So, yeah, it's been a fun little project. Learned a lot from it. But if you're wondering what the stack is Spring Boot for backend, Java. It's a microservice architecture. There's about 8 services, I believe. Use databases Postgres, and hosted on AWS. And let's see. Front end is React Native. It's available to download on the App Store. So yeah, it's been, and as well as the Google Play Store. CodeMonkey, is it only mobile? Yes, it is right now. Although there is a dashboard, a web app for businesses for them to interact with the Nowhere platform. So They can add events and do some other stuff on their browser. Cool. We need the request mapping. I always forget that one. Cool. I'm gonna actually close a lot of this stuff out. We don't need it. Let's see. Cool. And then I think we're going to set the path here just to be notifications. Why not go web first with responsive design? It's a great question. You're right to think that that would be a simpler solution, and it would be. There's a couple layers to that. One, Nowhere is, although I say it's a startup, and it is. I mean, it's its own full corporation and everything. When I started with it, it was definitely more of like a side project. And I wanted to like learn actual native development and React Native development. I know React, so I wanted more native abilities with it. I wanted push notifications. I wanted geolocation services. And the target audience for Nowhere is like typically more younger adults, and that market likes apps more than they like web apps. It's a lot easier to, especially when you're building kind of like a social network, which Nowhere is, and makes it a lot easier for the users, and the user just feels more comfortable with a more native experience. So yeah, that was kind of the reason why. And because I already knew React, it wasn't too hard to like learn React Native. It's pretty much the exact same thing. But if that makes sense, yeah. It was a long discussion though when we were first kind of making it. Of like if we want to do that. It was just at the end, we wanted it to be a native experience, and although it would have been quicker to do like a web app experience, it's just we would have wanted to like just quickly iterate to it, if that makes sense. And it's really not that hard to create a native app now. It's really not that difficult. Okay, so I currently am. This has been an ongoing project for a while now. And my partner decided to, focus on his career. So it's kind of turned into more of a side project. If that makes sense. So this is kind of more of something I just pick up when I have nothing to do and I'm kind of bored and haven't felt like I code in a while, if that makes sense. I'm the only one working on it now. That wasn't always the case. So I'm actually debating we actually go with this pattern / notifications. I think we do something else. So we're going to do a post mapping, I think, with the path. So only organizations, can make it an alert. And again, what alert is this is my idea. So please correct me, or if you have other ideas, please let me know. But the idea is to have it so organizations, these businesses, local businesses, can just send kind of like a push notification to all the users that follow them. That way, if they have to either quickly change some sort of information about their business or If it's just to get their attention, they can do that easily. For now, the goal is just to make it so they can just do that whenever. Maybe there'll be some sort of rate limiting we can add later. But what we want is organizations, any specific organization ID, to send a, I guess, what do we want to call it? An alert? I don't think that's bad. So this is saying, hey, send a post request. It's REST. So it's a REST API. Sending post requests to organizations, to organization ID, and this alert. Now, one thing to note though is the user that is the user being the company that is doing this. An organization ID. We forgot to do that. There's also companies, right? And we need the company ID. So companies is the overarching thing. The overarching role of the user, which we have a company ID for. That company ID is associated with the JWT we provide them to authenticate. And then we do the organization ID alert. So so we're just gonna do response entity of something we haven't created yet, and we'll say like send alert, and that will have a valid request model that we have not created yet. So let's just do a, I don't know, organization alert request. And oops, there's I think really only two things here. There is the title of the push notification and then just the description, the details. Right? I don't think it's too crazy. I don't think the organization needs to know more or needs to do anything more. All right? I don't think so. I'm just gonna see what we do kind of in our other requests, just so I follow the same pattern here. Oops. Shouldn't need the builder, but you know, that's okay. So we're gonna do a not null, or let's do not blank actually, on the title. So the title though is, we should probably, you know, set a maximum, a minimum and a maximum on it, right? I don't know how much though. Oops. Let's get rid of this. Yeah. Get my new profile open. push this over here as well. So let's just do this. Let's set the size with a minimum of what? Of maybe like 10. So like, hey, you need to do at least 10. And we can just say, hey, alert title must be at least, or let's just do alert title too short for now. And then we can do one for maximum. I don't know at what point the title of like a push notification on iOS or Android kind of gets cut off. Let's see. Let's see. That seems high. Does that seem high? Oh, geez. Let's see. Here, I'll show what I'm reading here. For push notifications to be successful, mobile marketing strategy is important to ensure they are entirely visible to your audience, especially when the average US smartphone user receives 46 push notifications per day. That's crazy. It seems like it'd be higher than that, honestly. So the main message of the notification limited by platform-specific constraints, the body with limits ranging from 50 to 240 characters. Hmm. $240, huh? Okay, well, I say we do 5 here. Max is 30. We can always change this later. Alert title too big. And then I would say that the description of it has to be not blank as well. I think we do this. Oops. Whoa. Oh, I'm an idiot. 1 second. Cool, cool, cool. And this, let's say 240. What? Cool. So now we have our alert request. Super easy. We are then going to let's see. Yep, we need to do this first. Oops. So we set the request body. Say, hey, we want to validate this, and we want to validate the organization alert request. I'm just going to say request. Then we can just log a simple info. Organization blah is sending, is attempting to send alert, to send new alert, blah. Oh, and we also need to find our path variables, which will be a UUID of company ID, as well as another path variable, which is also UUID of the organization ID. We can just set that here. Cool. So one thing is we have this is company, which just ensures that, hey, is the person who's creating this request, is this company ID in the path parameter the same that's actually authenticated with us, and are they active, right? Let's see. I don't understand. I see. Okay. So we have this. We validated our request. So for here, that's great. Now we can just create our notification service, which is just like a service layer, and all that's going to do is really follow the pattern because we don't really need it, but whatever. So we will do a notification service. This will also have an SLF4J, and this will be a service. In terms on, I don't think we're going to really return anything. We're not going to return a response. Just a, valid code. Like we got a 200 if it works. Public void. Organization send alert. And that's going to be the organization alert request. All this is going to do, and we will also do a required orgs constructor. And what we'll do here, we should already have a notification proxy. Do we also have we don't have a notification service already now. Notification proxy. Notification proxy. Cool. Okay. I am Let's update our proxies. Analytical proxy. Huh. Does Edge not send? Is this the first time Edge has ever sent a push notification? Really? Oh, it is. Huh. Oh, that's a bummer. I for sure thought Edge has sent push notifications before, but I guess it makes sense that it hasn't. Okay. Well, we just need to create a new method here. So it's going to be public void send push notification. And we're going to follow the same pattern as we do in all of our other services, and going to try to just make it generic. So let's do that. Let's go to our requests, new push notification request. Okay. So this is going to have a private push notification. Do we not, or sorry, not push notification, notification type. Notification type, or this is going to be template. And this is pretty much just a long enum of all the possible kind of notifications we can send. So we have email notifications, things I can send to a user, things I can send to an admin, and then just push notifications. So we'll want to create a new push notification template, which, what should we call it? I think just organization alert makes sense to me. Push notification request. Okay. Oops. Is there a notification data? There is. Okay, so we need this as well. So pretty much this is going to be, hey, entity type. This will be like users. Or actually, these might be null. It's been a while since I pushed this. I touched this. Oh man. Yeah, this, or actually no, the entity type and the actor will be the same, because the actor will be the organization, right? So, or it'll be company here. The company is sending an alert about an organization, right? With this organization ID. Yeah, so company blah is sending an alert about blah to these people. Okay, that makes sense. Oops. This has to be not null. And then this notification data can't be null. And then is there anything else we want for... Well, we should add it anyways. String object. Custom data. So what we do with this is, because there's like a template, we predefine a template. The notification API can take that template, and then from that it can properly parse this custom data. This just makes it so you don't have to create, you know, an endpoint or like one new thing every time, right? Because there's a ton of notifications that can happen, and if nowhere grows, notifications can grow very quickly. So this will have our newly created push notification request, which is the request. We then do something extremely similar where we create a new URI with the components builder we have from the base URL we have configured in our properties. And this one, instead of emails, the path segment, path segment is push notifications. Then we do .build .to URI. Cool. Now we can send just a log, making sure that, hey, we're sending push notification request with URI blah or request blah, URI and request. Then we're going to actually try this request, which is, we're using a REST template for this, which is a little bit outdated, but who cares? HTTP method post with the request that we passed in as the body of that request that we're sending, and we're expecting nothing to come back. If this fails, you want to catch this exception. Log it. Ooh, 1 second. Log.warn. Exception occurred when sending push notification. E. This should also have E in it. And then we're just going to rethrow that exception. Cool. So that should do it. Now all we really have to do is do notification proxy dot send, or actually, sorry, this is completely wrong. This is going to have quite a bit of logic in it, actually. So I'm just, right now I'm thinking is like, do we want to validate that this organization exists? We probably should. Because right now, so let's open up our company API, huh? Okay. Let's see. Okay. So I think we should. Where is my notification service that I've created? Right here. So this also means, whoa, oh my gosh, we need to get our organization proxy, or sorry, company proxy. And we need to actually see, maybe we get organization response, right? Organization equals company proxy dot get organization. I'm also just gonna pass in the organization ID here, as well as the company ID. We want to get the organization ID, and there's no user trying to get this. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the reason why this user ID, you can pass the user ID into this, is to see, why is that actually? It's because of this is following. Okay. So we have this, so we're getting this organization. That will throw a 404 if we don't have it. So if we try to get an organization and it does not exist, we throw a 404. Which is what we want. So now we want to get all the users that follow this organization. And I honestly do not know if we have that logic built out in user API. I think we do, but I might be completely wrong. Organization controller. Here, let's just close everything because it's starting to get a little crowded here. Also, this is old. This is, oh jeez, that's ugly. Oh man, I don't think we do. Shoot. So what we'll have to do, we have this is following. We don't have just like a organization ID. Oh, this is tough. Also, this is disgusting. Why is this path user / organization / organization ID? I'm not a fan of that. Why did I do that? Does this even get used? It does. That sucks. I don't know why I did that. Okay, well. So we'll have to make that. It's a bummer. I totally thought I had this. So we'll just do this where we're going to make a GET request for organization ID. And I'm thinking, do we have this user responses, just a list of user response. I don't think this is necessary. But maybe we can like update our push notifications to be a little bit more personable. Let's do it for now. So we will be doing a response entity of user responses. So these will be a list of users, user response, list of user response that follow this organization. Organization followers, where the path variable for this guy is going to be your UUID of organization ID. Info. Getting all users that follow organization. I'm just thinking if this is, I mean, at least for now and realistically, you know, there's not going to probably be millions, right? Millions of followers of these organizations. I'm just thinking of, you know, how complex. There's no need for paging or anything like that, at least for right now. I think the database can handle it. Let's see. User response is so get organization followers. And all we need here is a organization ID. So now we should have this follow repository, right? Maybe we have find all by organization ID. What is this used for? I have this already coded up, but I haven't actually used it outside of tests. What is followed? think we need that. Okay. So let's do a list of followed followers is equal to the organization or followed repository. Do you have that? Oops. Oh man. Followed repository, find all by organization ID, organization ID. So that should give us a list of all the followers for one organization. What is your tech? Yeah. So I'm assuming you're talking about like the stack of it. Backend is a microservice architecture. And it is built on Java Spring Boot. It is hosted on AWS, on ECS with like the Fargate for the orchestrator. So all this is Spring Boot right now. That's pretty much what we use. Front end is React Native. So just being able to get like the native features out of phone for users, because it is kind of like a social media, social network. So we want to be able to give those features. What does microservice architecture mean? Yeah, great question. Let's see. Let's look it up. Don't worry, I know the answer to it, but just for microservices versus monolith. Let's see if there's any good images here. Yeah. I'm not really seeing anything that I really like here. This might be a good one. Can I open this up? But pretty much like there's two ways to create your backend, right? So what your backend is processing all the business logic. So the client, right, the user is going to say, hey, I want to, follow this organization or whatever. And it's going to then send it to our backend services. And there's two ways to kind of do that. You can either have your backend service be monolithic, which means there's one service that handles pretty much everything. Or you can have microservice where you have multiple services that has its very rigid and well-defined like what it actually does, right? So both are equally valid. There's downsides and upsides to both. So you have different components. So aren't all apps kind of microservice? You have different components, different API endpoints for different things. Yeah. So for example, we're in user API, right? Right here, this is user API. This is Edge API. I have company API. There's about 8 other services for my backend. That's why it's called microservices. So Edge API, for example, is the front-facing service, which means it is all incoming requests hits Edge API. And what Edge API does is it does both the authentication and authorization. So figuring out, okay, who's actually making this request and are they allowed to make this request? And then it also does all the validation of those incoming requests. So if we go to, let's see, a controller here, event controller. So like right here, it's going to validate that this event create request is valid, right? So like, does the title in the request, is it blank? If it is, we want to throw an exception immediately, that way you fail fast and you don't fail when you actually go in to create this event. You're validating that incoming data. So then what Edge will do, because this is more microservice, it's going to then say, okay, I validated it. That's all I really need to do. I'm going to send it to, for this example, event API, which I have on my other screen. Let me bring this over. Right. So now we're in Event API. Event API is going to say, oh, here's this endpoint, create event. We are going to, then it's actually going to process everything and like actually create it, right? But you can absolutely put all of this stuff, every service, into one service. And that's what a monolithic means. The pros and cons to both, right? Pros being for microservices, the pros being is you can scale those services independently a lot easier. For example, Event API, this service right here, has a lot of code in it and it gets hit the most, right? Like because Nowhere is like a kind of event discovery platform, this is getting hit a lot. So if we get a spike in users or whatever, Event API will need to be scaled. But like Company API, right, which only handles kind of like the company logic, so the businesses that are actually, populating Nowhere, it doesn't need to scale, right, as much as Event API would if we, one day got a ton of users all of a sudden. Now, that being said, I would say for what Nowhere is right now and like how many users it is and everything, microservices are definitely overkill. But I know how to do it, but it has a lot of, it definitely is tough because, for example, like Edge API needs to know every request, every response possible from every other service so that I can properly, return that. And then, so for example, like just event, what is like, I'm trying to find a good example here. I don't know. So like event response, right? This also has to is defined in Event API. So there's a lot of duplication there. So yeah, that's definitely a big downfall of it as well. So you can scale it in cloud. Yeah, exactly, Tess. Exactly. And there's a lot of cool ways you can do that. I mean, it's not hosted on Kubernetes right now. But if one day we did go to Kubernetes, or if we just configured our AWS a little bit better, or ECS, it would make it so it could do it all automatically. You could configure AWS to be like, hey, Event API or any API that is hitting 80% CPU, let's add a couple more Event APIs to the cluster so that you can, offload some of that traffic. You can disperse it a little bit, if that makes sense. But yeah, all very good questions. Very good questions. So hopefully that kind of better explains the difference between monoliths and microservices. Microservices, much harder to implement, but can make it easier. And typically you'll kind of see this more in the industry, I would say, for like enterprise level platforms. Like Netflix doesn't have a monolithic structure. Not all of Netflix is in one service. At least I don't believe it is. But yeah, there's pros and cons to it. Tess, I'd love to. Yeah, I absolutely would. However you think is the best way to send it over, or more than welcome to talk about it. But like, again, like this is kind of Another thing about, microservice versus monoliths is what we're doing right now. So what we're doing right now is say, I want to make it so organizations can send push notifications directly to the users that are following that organization, right? So the first thing I need to do is figure out, okay, who are these users that follow this organization? Well, that requires me to make a call to user API and figure that out, which is a call, right? That call is slower than if I just queried the database directly. Which means you also have more complex logic, because then you need to have this like notification proxy, where if it was all monolithic, I could just look up the database and I wouldn't have to make an extra call, and it would be a little bit faster. So yeah. Tess, I didn't see that link come through. Let me see if... One sec. Maybe I have some weird moderation stuff going on. But I don't see it. Yeah, I don't see it. Let me check something. But yeah, it has just learning as... I think I have maybe a moderation thing going on. Let me see if I can mess with it really quickly. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm still not seeing anything coming on my way. I think I have something here. I don't know why I'm not seeing it come through, because I don't have it. Okay, I think I have it here. Zoombookvercel.app. Is that right? Let me pull it up here. Sorry, I was on my other computer there. Zoombook.vercel.app. Is this it? Hey John, love the building in public, bro. What is a good way to connect with you? Appreciate it, Offside. Couple ways. You could one, join my Discord. That goes with you to test, where it's just kind of a community of coding, also gaming. I'm in there a lot, like, just to talk, hang out, chill. Trying to just build that kind of community. You can also follow me on X. That's another big one. And yeah, but I would say probably the Discord is probably the best if you want to join my Discord. There should be a link. If not, here, let me just get it. Let me just send the Discord link in the chat really quick so you guys have it. So that is probably the best. Let's see. Okay, there you go. Okay, sorry. But yeah, Discord's the best. X, follow, subscribe on YouTube. you know, but Discord definitely is if you want to like chat, chill, run stuff. I always enjoy kind of like just seeing what people are doing. This looks great though, Test. I'm interested in what your stack is. So it looks like it's traveling and ordering. What's the idea behind this? What are we trying to go for? I like the use of for sell though. That's awesome. Makes it a lot easier. And also, where are you getting this data? Next.js, Prisma, PostgreSQL. Nice. What's the I'm not sure if I'm familiar with T3 stack. What is that? What is this? Next.js. Nice. Actually, has Prisma. What is? I do so many things kind of just raw. Like this is something that I need to be better at. Is keeping up with all these different kind of things, you know? Because you can build something so quickly now, it's crazy. I mean, you get an idea, you can create it so quickly. Like actually, something that I created that if just like over a weekend or over a week, what is it? And this is I vibe coded this one. We're here. Let me try to pull it up on my phone really quick. Can I like phone mirror while I'm? Will this work? This might be sus. Okay, this is my actual phone. Oh shit. So, you know, just so laggy. This is one that I created I vibe coded with. Let's get that. And it like I created in a week. It's pretty much just a way like you can use your location and just get interesting facts. I don't know why it doesn't. You can't actually scroll on this view thing, but like you can get like a random fact at my location, and I built this in like a week with vibe coding. It's insane, actually insane. But okay, let's get rid of that. It's an ORM. It maps your database schema. Okay, cool, and adds type safety to it. That's sick. Nice. Where was your? What did I do with it? Oh, it's right here. That's sick. I love it. Yeah, it seems like you're well on your way, man. You got tags. You got location. Cool. Do you actually have like processing? Like, can you actually process this? I think this is a great idea. I honestly really do like this. This is really cool. Like I'm going to, you know, uh North Carolina to get married here in the next couple weeks. And if someone was, wanted something that I could just, bring it to them. It's like UPS, but individual. It's a cool idea. I like it. Okay. Let's see. So, I think. Right, yeah. So the main page you're looking at is for the travelers to pick the products they want to deliver. Right, that makes sense. Do you have it all built out? Like, can I add to basket and then what happens? Sign in to check out. Do you have like authentication stuff? Okay. That's cool. Here, I just want to not use my, let's just use one that, actually, this is probably a worse profile to use. Let's just use this. Nice, you got the picture and everything. That's cool. Chat. So yeah, having it so people can chat, that makes sense. So like, let's say, because I'm going to North Carolina here. Let's say my departure is like here. I'm just going to use a dummy one. Does that work? Nice. You got the. Are you using React or you're using Next.js, right? This is cool. This is really cool. Really well done. Nice. Yeah, that's a smart idea to like make it so you can put anything, and you're not just confined to like your database. I guess that's smart. But yeah, I'm interested in what you'll do for like chatting because that I would love. I want to add chatting to Nowhere. I actually have like some, like actually this current branch that we're on, which actually is not good. Shoot. Oh man, I'm in a dirty branch. I forgot to get rid of this. But this is for some of the chat stuff. Oh, that sucks. Okay. All right. We got to do some stuff here. We are just going to do get at all, get status. This isn't a thing. Oops, pushing the wrong buttons. And let's do the same thing for this. That was a bonehead move. Then I'm just doing this to be extra safe. Oh, yeah, I restored it. I didn't mean to do that. Oh, man, that's even a bigger mistake. Well, that was stupid. Oh. All right, whatever. I'm just gonna commit this and just get it over with. I don't know what this is. I like that. All right, get checkout, develop, get pull. Okay, get checkout, organization, followers. We'll do that. Yeah, the easy way to do for now is Firebase, but I'm trying to figure out a better way. Yeah. I mean, like to get started, that's what I would do. You know, I'm the way I've approached Nowhere isn't the typical way you should approach a startup. You know, like and it's more for my own, just trying to build something, um, that, and just trying to learn new things that I can apply to my real life job, and just creating like my own very enterprise esque kind of level, but definitely not the proper way of doing it for kind of like a startup side thing. Um, let's get the music back on. But yeah, because like for example, what I was just on, that branch I was just on was for like implementing my own chat. You know, it's a great way for me to learn like actually how to process that, but way harder and not worth it. Oh shit. Well, we just deleted our work accidentally, so we can just do it really quickly again. So we're going to create a git mapping of this organization's organization ID. And what we're doing is we're returning a, I think just user, or actually no. See, I don't quite remember what we're going to be returning quite yet. So we're going to do a question mark. Get organization followers. And this is going to be a path variable of UUID organization ID. Tess, that's how I do it. Look, if you want to see a mess, so here, I don't know if you checked it out, but here's the website for Nowhere. So this is what the app looks like. Which I'll say I'm pretty proud of it. What is my playlist? My playlist is here. Let me link it. It's with this chill hop thing. It's like it's not copyrighted. Copy link address. Let's see here. That's the cred of it. But this one specifically is Chill Hop Radio Jazz Lo-Fi Hop. But these guys are pretty nice. But yeah, learning as you go is the best way to do it, man. This Nowhere thing is, I started this back in 2020 when I was still in college. And I wish I could show you. I don't think it's still up. Oh, you can see it for a second. This is what it used to look like. I'm trying to think if I have any. Let me get things here. I think I actually have some old images I can find really quickly. One sec. Let me just pull it over here so I don't link anything. But going as you go and grinding through it, that's how you learn, man. And also, you know, surrounding yourself and asking for help and asking for questions. So I would definitely join the Discord so I can, you know, I'd like to keep up with what you're doing and help in any way I can. Let's see, branding. What is this? Mock-up. So here we go. Oh, these are the new ones. They're old ones. Oh, this is branding. No, here we go. Yeah. Okay. So this is what I had. This was my like OG for Nowhere. Like, look at this. Oh, so bad. So bad compared to what it is now. I mean, it's come a long ways, you know. And this was horrible. Like this was coded so poorly. Now it's coded much better. But that just comes from, you know, years of getting comfortable with it and of just experience, you know. Yeah, the right of hands. Yeah, I forget what the product was for me to render these. Something a little weird for sure. Is there anything else? Do I have anything? I don't think so. But yeah, so keep grinding, man. That's how you do it. Okay. So we want to get the info of getting followers for organization, blah, which is organization ID. And then we can do what we were just working on. Public. I don't exactly know what. I think we said user responses, right? Isn't that what we said? Get follow or get organization followers. UUID of the organization ID. It has come a long way. But like, even if you just have, like, Nowhere's been a project that I've been working on for a very long time, obviously, but it's not something like, even if your project doesn't take off or make you a ton of money, I use Nowhere as an excuse to build something and learn something, if that makes sense. You know, for example, here, let me just boot up Nowhere actually on my local machine. I'm gonna move this over here just in case I leak. I don't want to leak anything. Or npx expo, or actually we just can do that. So just actually launch it. I'm gonna just build a simulator. So small. Okay, what's that? It's going. But like like what I was saying is you can just use the project that you're working on to like do something else, if that makes sense. Instead of like, for example, you know, the chat feature. I don't know how to do that. I have no idea how to make, you know, an actual chat group messaging thing. But I can use Nowhere as an excuse to learn it. I don't have to build something from scratch. I can just build on top of Nowhere. So, you know, I definitely recommend keeping with it. Let's see. Followed repository, list followed, find all. Let's do followers equals organization. Nope, followed repository. Oh my gosh. I think I did the exact same thing last time. Organization ID. Okay. Exactly, Tess. That's the right way of thinking of it, in my opinion, especially when you're first starting out. And like, especially in today's market too, and industry, big companies and big tech companies are moving away from the lead code-esque kind of interview questions. At least they're not relying on them as heavily as they were, a few years ago, in my opinion. So if you can just have projects that you can reference them to, that's huge. Like I'm currently in the interview process of a company, and being able to just show them nowhere, not only shows like, oh, this is what I'm capable of, but it also shows like, oh, he's taking initiative, right? Which they like. So just creating a repository of projects like that is huge. And the hardest part of it is getting started, for sure, Okay, so we have our list of followers. So now we probably want to stream that. I forgot kind of how the streams work. Man, this is bad. Stream. Okay. Followers dot stream dot map, which will be followed, or actually followed. Let's do get user ID, and then from there, let's see, we have a UUID now, and we want to get that actual user. I'm looking for an internship, so this is what I'm working on along with the occasional leak code. Yeah, that's the perfect way of doing it. Perfect way of doing it. And it's fun too. At least I think it's fun. Being able to create something that, like, an idea, that pops in your head, and then actually creating it into something is insane. It's like, wow. Gives you a confidence boost for sure. So then we're going to do what? User repository. Do I not have the user repository in here? I do not. So let us add it. So now we're going to go get all the user information for it. So this is what I was thinking about like earlier is, if an organization, right, which is like a local business, has 1 million followers, which absolutely should not, this could definitely wreck our backend and our database. You know what I mean? But not only is it nowhere's small, but also because the businesses are contained to like a local address, right? I couldn't expect, even if nowhere popped off, I couldn't expect it to ever be of consequence. There's just not going to be that many followers for an organization. But we're going to, let's see, find by ID. I think we can actually, oops, sorry. So now that we have our now that we have our user, we want to collect that. Let's see, there should be, I want to see how I do handle like user responses. How do I typically do this? How do I do the likes? Any recommendations for frameworks, languages, and tools that are good for getting a job slash internship? I'm trying to incorporate different things to my tech stack. All I see is C Sharp, Java, .NET, etc., and of course AWS and Azure. You're definitely I think, on the right track. Um, and I think it also kind of depends on kind of what you want to do. So what we're doing right now is Java Spring Boot, right? So Java is the language, Spring Boot is the framework. If you haven't heard of Spring Boot, I would definitely check it out. Um, Spring Boot is for it's kind of for enterprises. You know, it's really for large enterprise level kind of software, and it's something that I think a lot of like you don't really, at least I didn't. You know, I never heard of Spring Boot before I started working with it with Garmin. Um, but it is very popular amongst the big services. You know, Netflix I know uses Spring Boot. Let's look it up actually. What companies use Spring Boot? Yeah, see, I see every big company using Spring Boot. Is there like any famous ones? Can we maybe? Oh, geez. Okay, this might not be the right one. Top companies that use Spring Boot. Okay, here we go. Yeah, Netflix. And we have to sign in. LinkedIn, Alibaba, Intuit, Wix. So if you're trying to like go into platform heavy tech companies, Spring Boot is a very good option to learn because it is used by so many. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. But yeah, Spring Boot's a great one for maybe if you don't want to go to like the enterprise level kind of platforms. Yeah, Node.js, I would say, is a really good one too. It's you know, Next.js. It allows you to very easily kind of integrate your front end with back end, and a lot of big companies, enterprise level companies, absolutely use Node.js. So yeah, I would start with one or the other. If you're more comfortable with JavaScript, I would definitely, you know, start with Node.js. Java is one of those languages where most people just don't have experience with. You know what I mean? Yeah, you're using Node.js right now. Yep, exactly. Um, it's a great starting point, and it's not even just a starting point. That's just not right to say. It's a very viable option. A lot of places use it. Um, but I will say, like Java, Spring Boot, definitely more on the enterprise level stuff. Okay, so we have linear stream map user response. I think we just keep doing what we're doing. So we have is there a way? No. just going to do it here. I just want to get it down and dirty and just figure this out. What is going on? I use Java in my intro classes, but that's about it. Yeah, that's how I had it in my college career as well. I think I took maybe 1 or 2 classes in Java. I think one of those was object-oriented programming was one of the classes, and that was in Java. It's pros and cons to everything, right? But definitely from if you haven't heard of it, if you haven't heard of Spring Boot, if you haven't heard of Spring at all, just at least check it out. I find it really easy. It's really not that difficult, and it makes it so you can create, like where Nowhere's at now. I could scale it if like 1 million users came tomorrow and just started using Nowhere, it would be fine. I would have to scale it up in AWS a little bit, I think, but the actual code is fine. And it's very easy with Spring to create like a structured just pattern on just how your services work. So what did I do? What was I doing here? Liked users. There was one thing I was looking at. I haven't touched this code base in probably months, so I apologize. 1, 2, 3 goals. How's it going, man? How's your night going? Hope it's going well. Appreciate you stopping by. Okay. So let me just... Yeah, okay, it was flat map. Thought I was right about that. Sorry. So using this user ID, we're going to get the user repository dot find by ID. So that's going to get us our user. Yeah. It can be a little bit daunting, but that's what I use. That's what I use at work, And it's definitely one of those things too. If you're still in school and on your resume it says Spring Boot, it's one of those things. It's like this guy like even just knows what Spring Boot is. Go, that's interesting. It'll for a company that uses Spring Boot, who's looking through internship applications and sees an intern, saying that they know Spring Boot, it's like, huh? Because typically you get introduced to Spring once you have a job and once you become kind of like a Spring developer, which is what I am, right? So then we're going to flat map this, and we're going to do optional stream. So that will make it so it filters kind of out all the optionals. So this should now have a map of user. And then what we want to do with this is we want to use this object mapper. Do we not have object mapper here? We don't. So we're going to create an object mapper so we can go to our response. Excuse me. So object mapper, convert value, user. We want that to be user response dot class. And then we will do a to list. And this should now be a list of user response. Am I wrong? Oops. What is going on? Oh. Followed user responses. All right, I think that's right. And then what we can do is just return a new user responses.builder.build. We're just going to build our response, which all it is just this thing that we created. I think that makes sense. And then all we do is we return a response entity of OK, which is a 200. Also, one thing, test, anyone listening, I would definitely important to know your HTTP codes. You know, like when to return a 200 versus a 201, when to return a 400 versus a 403, or, you know, when to return 500 versus 504. It's not super important if you're just messing around, but if you're going to start creating like actual applications, one, it's just good to know, because if you're going to be creating APIs, you should be following that convention, right? But my biggest pet peeve is when you're integrating with an API and all they do is just return 200s, even for errors. It's just not good practice, you know? And that's something that I think a lot of engineers, because like in school and stuff, they don't teach you really how to make a API, you know? They don't really, at least they didn't for me. And I've seen, you know, some buddies or whatever who worked at startups that their contracts and like how they actually, you know, return data from their back into the front end just goes totally against, you know, REST. And yeah, totally. And I would just like, if you do it correctly from the beginning, at least when you're starting a project, and like actually return proper codes and handle proper cases, you will thank yourself later in that project, because it makes error handling so much easier, and makes it so much easier just to consume your API. Like I have a buddy who's working on a, you know, front end kind of, or a startup kind of thing, and he'll return a 200, but then in his body it'll say forbidden, which is a 403 code, but then it will have another code section in his body that says like 401 or something like that, where like everything possible is wrong. And it's just, it's tough. It's tough. So that's just another tidbit of advice. It makes you look like an amateur extremely quickly to someone that at least, you know, has been working with it. So get followed organizations. That's not what we wanted. Get organization followers is what we wanted. Okay, so I think we have it. This is what I don't like right now, is this users. So right now it's like users, organizations, organization ID for the endpoint, which I do not like. So we are going to update this. Oops. Oopsie. All right. So we just need to add this to everyone. Not to that one. We have to do this one. This was stupidly designed. Hate that, but whatever. Cool. So we make a GET request on organizations, organization ID. That will give us the followers. Now, typically you could do like follow and declare like the entity or whatever. But you can absolutely do that. But the context of this, right? Like the context of organizations within the user API, and this is another thing about microservices, is this context only exists with followers, with following, right? It's like within user API scope, it only knows about organizations with when a user follows that organization. That's all it knows. It doesn't know an organization has, you know, events. It doesn't know that organization, what an organization even looks like. And this is a important factor when it comes to microservices, and a good thing with microservices. It allows you to define your services very rigidly. So user API doesn't need to know what an organization actually is, really. It doesn't need to know all of its thing. It doesn't need, so yeah. So because of that, we have this context. The only context that user API has with organizations is when a user follows that organization. That's why I feel comfortable with the path being kind of abstract, maybe, if that makes sense. So I'm planning on MVP for another project. If you recommend one tech stack that could almost guarantee a job internship, would you still say Spring Boot? I don't think, like, I really don't think there's a right answer. If you want to be able to say you can work, if you've worked in Spring Boot, I'm trying to figure out like the best way to answer it, because I want you to, like, you know, spend your time properly, right? This is my opinion, okay? Build what you feel most comfortable with and just keep expanding on that, especially when it comes to learning like the fundamentals, right? When it comes to learning how to create an API, how to like the proper way of actually handling responses, consuming APIs and all that stuff. Spring Boot, although it's very nice, it does come with much more of an overhead when it comes to like boilerplate and getting it set up. Spring Boot isn't going to go anywhere. So there's that. I mean, I don't think Spring Boot is going, Java is never, I don't think it's ever going to go anywhere. I would say though, Node.js and Node.js, Python even, I would say is more used than Spring Boot probably by the industry as a whole, right? If you're looking at it as a whole, I would say probably Node.js, Python, that kind of stuff that's more accessible to people is used by the industry as a whole. Now, if you want to maybe land at an enterprise level kind of thing, like at Netflix, or if you want to focus purely on back-end engineering, right? Like I'm a back-end engineer. That's what I do professionally. So that's what I'm most comfortable with. And as a back-end engineer who works on an enterprise level app, Spring Boot Java is kind of the standard, right? So if you but it's niche. I mean, Spring Boot is niche. You know what I mean? Like it is a niche. It's a niche thing, but it's used very powerfully. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm making sense. But like if I was a reviewer, if I was, on some team and our stack was Spring Boot and an intern and intern applicant's resume, came by and they said, "Oh, I have experience with Spring Boot." Obviously, I'm going to be like, "Wow, that's impressive for, an intern position or for someone who's still in school to even know what Spring Boot is." You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where if you work in Node.js or whatever language, it's going to help you no matter what. It's just like Spring Boot. If I was looking for other people, if I was looking for, interns and they had a Spring Boot on their resume, I'd be like, "Oh, that's interesting. They know even what this is." So it's kind of up to you of like, what is it? What are you trying to balance here? Richard, thanks for stopping by the stream, man. Appreciate it. Hope your night's going well. What are you cooking? Yeah, I'm working on a, I think did the simulator boot up? It should have. Yeah, here we go. I'm working on Nowhere, which is a app I've been working on for a little bit now. It's pretty much a social media app or social network app that makes it so local businesses can promote their day-to-day events like Whiskeys or Magic the Gathering night or Boulder night or Boulder board games, whatever it may be, to the community so users can discover, plan, and attend those events from one centralized location with like social experiences, right? So for example, we have Geeks Who Drink. You can see all the information about it. You can see what the organization is, see where it is, what time it is. You could take a memory, or you can, say that you're interested in it, which will kind of save it for you later, and then your friends can see that you're interested in it as well. You have memories where when you're attending an event, you can like take a picture, right? Which is actually, I think this is probably the coolest feature about Nowhere is these memories, because it allows you to take a picture only when you're at the event, right? So if I were to try to take a memory here, well, I'd have to give it permissions. Oh, geez. It doesn't work on this iOS build for some reason. But you would take a memory, but it would like ensure using your location to like that you're actually at the event. And then only then you can only post one picture for one event. So the idea here is like, you have no idea what you want to do on your Friday, Saturday night. You can go and see in real time all these pictures being posted in your community. And so I could be like, "Oh, this looks fun. Oh, this is happening at this event. Let me go check it out. Oh, these are my friends that are going. Oh, no, here's the past memories of this event. Oh, that looks fun. I'll go do that tonight." Not really possible with any other app. So that's pretty cool. Exactly. That this is my favorite feature about Nowhere right now. Um, and it's just unique to Nowhere. You can't really do it. Um, you can't even really necessarily do it with Instagram. I guess you could, but because it's tied to an event, these memories are tied to an event. It makes it a lot easier. Then you can also go to, this organization like the Rayback, a great spot in Boulder, has a bunch of events, and I can see all the memories for all of the events. They're not just specific for that event, but you know, um, this would have all the memories for that organization. So if there was this organization that I didn't know about, I could just go here, see all the past memories from people in the community having a fun time. And you can like it or whatever. So yeah, that's a fun one. You can see your followed organizations. You can also like if I was to say I'm interested in this one, it would show up here. And then you have your friends. So these are my memories at a football game. You can set your availability. So the whole idea with Nowhere is to make it super passive, right? It just makes it the whole thing with Nowhere is just make it super passive. Instead of you having to actively go to Instagram or Facebook or whatever, it's all fed to you passively, right? And one of those is like friends. So I can see what my friends want to do. Oh, Caitlin wants to go to happy hour. Oh, she's available. That would be fun. Jan Fletcher, my mom, wants to mini golf, right? Oh, that sounds fun. I'll reach out to her. Stuff like that. So I can say I want to, I don't know, watch football. And then all my friends know I want to watch football. And if someone's available, they can reach out to me. And I can also say, hey, I'm busy. I wanted to watch football. You missed it. But yeah. I pitched this to Y Combinator to get some funding for it. I've tried. I've gone down the Y Combinator route. Didn't work out, unfortunately. So, but yeah, I'm kind of in the process of maybe raising some funds for it. But yeah, you can also look at music and stuff like that. See all the trivia nights. You can also go just near you or whatever. You can select the dates. Oh, I'll be in Boulder from June 6th to the 8th. What is there available? And I'll get that information for you. Yeah. Tess, I'm right there with you. That's why I'm working on this thing, man. Because I do believe in the idea. I really do like the idea. I just suck when it comes to the actual marketing and actually getting this out. You know what I mean? But as I have users. I have users and I have businesses using it. But again, this is what you can build. This was an idea that I had because I was in college. I was an out-of-state student. And it took me a while. But yeah, you can build it. You can just build stuff. It's insane. But then there's also, I'll just keep going, I guess. So this is the dashboard for businesses. There's also another app for businesses that's outside of this app. So I have 3 clients. Which is why, you could argue that a web app would be a lot better than just a native app experience, but whatever. But here, you can create an event super easily and see your past events, see your upcoming events, see the memories associated to that organization, which there are none for this one. Update your organization and all that stuff. So Yeah, that's the goal, I would say, is to have it more tailored to colleges. And like, well, so this is the thing, like, this is the big struggle with it is this is what I've learned because I've tried. um, I haven't tried with a lot of money though, so I'll preface with that, right? Not a big marketing budget, but like what I've figured out is, or what I've learned from this is, when it comes to like college students and stuff like that, um, no one likes to be no one honestly likes to be the first one to try something, at least as a college student. A college student will only download something if another college student tells them about it and like they have it downloaded, if that makes sense. Because like I threw like things uh at CU Boulder, which is a big college campus and a big party thing. um and now maybe I just didn't do it right, which is absolutely possible, but it was tough to like get people to see it. And this is the one thing I will say about when it comes to you maybe doing your own startup. What Nowhere is a business to business to customer, right? That is, and not only that, it's also tied via geolocation. So it's literally probably the hardest thing you could ever do when it comes to like actually launching it. Business to customer is one of the hardest, and then you add like a location side to it. It's extremely difficult. It's not something that would just take off. I can post on, X, and then someone in New York would, because there's no businesses in New York right now, right, that are using Nowhere, they wouldn't get any value of it. So you have to start very small, and then you have to like grow naturally. It's difficult. So if you're ever wanting to like actually build something and not on super expert hard difficulty, work with business and do B2B stuff, because it's a lot easier to sell something to businesses because they understand the value of it and they know what they need. But customers, they don't know what they need. They only know what they need once one of their buddies or whatever, kind of tells it to them. So it's a lot more difficult. It's like for Nowhere to like take off, or something like Nowhere to take off, it would require a good amount of upfront investment, at least for the marketing side of things. But, it's still fun. It's still a fun thing. But yeah, like that's why I want to add like chats, because I'd love to be able to, instead of sending it via text message or whatever, send it within the app, so you don't have to, you never have to leave the app or anything like that. But that's a whole other thing. Wouldn't the main business model be having businesses sign up / be featured in the app? Yep. So that is the business model. Right now it's free for businesses, but in order to incentivize them to actually join the network. But yes, the business model would be, hey, pay a monthly subscription to actually be on the Nowhere network. And then, but also on top of that, with this, because we're connecting like users directly with businesses, there's a lot of data that comes with that too. Like we'd be able to, tell businesses, hey, this is how many people looked at your event, how many people clicked on your event, how many people shared your event. You can even say like how many people like showed up to your event with it. It would all be possible to just have that data, which would be extremely valuable for businesses. But that requires a lot of data processing and a huge data pipeline. But yep, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Okay. What this is too, what I'm working on, this is called, what is this? Swagger, yeah. Pretty much makes it, I'm not using Swagger properly, but it might be something worth to check out on your own time. Makes it so it's a lot to document your API like extremely easily. So instead of writing your code and then writing like this huge documentation about all your APIs, Swagger will kind of do it for you with all these annotations and stuff. I'm not using it correctly by any means. I don't actually use it at all. It's just more of something we started with and we never properly took advantage of. Yeah, I appreciate that, Tess. Appreciate the validation that I'm not crazy. Let's see. Organization test. Another important thing too that you don't want to gloss over, especially when you're wanting to create something for a production level environment, is test, man. You want to make sure it's tested. And one great thing is to do functional tests, which is what we're going to do now. So first is, can we get organization followers? Right? Right, Tess. Yeah, they call you crazy until it works. Exactly. Yep. So we're just gonna do what we do with the other stuff. We're gonna follow organization, user ID, and then we are going to. So what we are, we're just testing our endpoint that we just created, right? And the organization ID is that path parameter. So given the path parameter being organization ID, I don't know why my tabs are all messed up. What is going on? Weird. When we do a get on organization ID, right? Then I don't know why my tabs are all messed up. Then we want a status code of OK, right? At 200, where the body of users .o or 0, sorry. What is it? User ID or ID? 1 second. So we're returning. Oops, we should be returning a user responses. I need to update that in the API as well. On the interface. I didn't check what I was. User. Okay, it's just ID. So users 0.id. I want to make sure that's equal to user ID. And what I like to do too is just log.all here, just to make sure. Oops. So this will actually make a request. What? Is my Docker environment not going well? Oh, it's not. Okay, weird. 1 second, I'll be right back. All right, sorry about that. Something happened. What happened? Failed to load application contacts. Why? Oh, I need to get rid of this stupid thing. I have this plugin that I thought was slick. That just doesn't work. Oh my god. You have to like clean and install. What is going on? What the heck? This is acting weird. Dude, what? Ambiguous mapping. Okay, different error. Mock organization controller. Error. Is this happening on these other tests? Did I mess something up? Nope, something is acting up. Mock organization controller, get specific organization. Oh. What the heck? Man, I must have been... When was this? I must have been going way too quickly. Oh, it wasn't me. Am I crazy? Mock event controller. Yeah. You're supposed to put a mock in front of it. That's crazy. So, okay, just to better to show what's happening. One thing you do, at least with Spring, and a good way of doing it is because, or just microservices, right? You kind of want to test your code end to end, at least with FTs, right? But for example, your user API might need information about an organization, right? And company API. Well, the endpoint in company API is /organization ID. But as you can see, I'm creating a controller here, right? So it's ambiguous right now because this is this /organization ID endpoint is the exact same one that we just created. So what you're supposed to do is when it's a mock controller, you're supposed to do a /mock. But for some reason that wasn't appended. That was not added to it. So I don't know why that wasn't. My guess is these tests are going to fail because I just made that change. Okay, different failure, but still good. I don't know why it failed. It looks right to me. Oh, yeah, I forgot. You have to do a two-string. But this is what it looks like. So we have an array of users that are following it. This user ID, which is this user, we get it correct. So that's cool. But my guess now is everything else is going to break. Is all these tests going to break now? Let's see. Yep. Why? I forgot how this is supposed to be set up, but it's definitely supposed to be set up better than this. So why? Let's go to base test here. Yeah, here we go. So what you're supposed to do is set the base URLs to have this mock. Are we not? Oh, that's not what I was. Are we just straight up not configuring them? Oh no, we're here. Oh yeah, see? We're not adding any mocks. Oh man. None of these have mocks. What? I don't know how we missed this so long ago. That's crazy. Well, for now, I guess, this is something I can do later, is we will set this to mock. Now these tests should work. At least they should work better. There we go. Yeah. I need to go back through that and actually properly configure all this stuff. That sucks. All right, well, we got our test though. We can get organization followers. Let's also... Do we have another user or anything like that? Create user. Okay, cool. I'm also going just to create... let's do like user 2. And we're just going to do create user. And then... What does this do? Oh... Okay, we're going to expand on this. We're going to do an overriding function. That way, we can use both. And then we just return follow organization, user ID, UID.random. Does that make sense? So we had this old function called followed organization ID that had a user ID parameter, but then we were just setting the organization ID to be random. But I also want to be able to specify this, and this is not the best way because I'm just saving it directly to the repository instead of actually, you know, hitting the code, but those tests, I have tests that cover that, so it's kind of all right. But I also wanted a method to make it so you can specify the organization ID. So this just makes it kind of so that the organization ID is nullable, I guess, for this function. So now what we can do is we can do this. We can create a random UUID. Follow organization ID. That's not right. Organization. What's going on? Oh. Okay. We don't care about this return anymore. And then we can make it so it's just user2. So now dot body. Is it dot body or like has size or something? Dots. Oh yeah, wait, no, sorry, it's body users has size of 2. Let's make sure that runs. Cool. And just make sure it actually kind of looks correct. It does. Cool. Is there really anything else we need to test? I mean, I guess we should just test if it's empty. But I don't think that's really necessary. And if we do that, it should be parameterized test probably, but I'm a little too lazy to do that right now. With no followers. Okay. I don't know what's going on with my indentations. Yeah, it seemed to work. I'm just going to delete this. There's no reason to test this, in my opinion. It's probably going to bite me one day, though. Okay. I don't think there's really anything else to test. We're not throwing an exception. If their organization doesn't exist, we don't care, right? The user API doesn't need to know if the organization exists or not. All it cares about is like, hey, I got this incoming request about followers for this organization. Do I have that information? You know? So I think we're set with that. So now what we'll be able to do, where is my terminal? Implemented ability to get an organization followers. Yeah. Set it upstream. Cool. All right. Well, I think that might do it for me tonight. So we learned a lot, or we did a lot. We learned. So we made it so that user API will return now a list of users that has all of a specified organization's followers, which we need to use for our new alert system, where we'll allow businesses to send a push notification directly to users. So now we have a way to at least get those users to send that push notification to. What we'll do next time I'm live, is update this notification service that we started working on. To get the followers for this specific organization. And once we have all those followers, all those users, we can then have Edge API call Notification API to actually handle the actual notification to be sent out. And then after that, the backend is done. Pretty simple, straightforward feature. And then we'll have to just move on to the front end and see how that looks. But cool. Yeah, well, I appreciate you stopping by. Appreciate you hanging out. Feel free to subscribe and check out the Discord if you want to join. Just a place to talk about software, talk about games, share your cool projects that you're working on. And to also show some of the stuff that I'm working on as well. But yeah, appreciate you guys stopping by. Appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you had fun. I'll probably be on maybe tomorrow or sometime this week. It might be playing games or it might be actually coding. So, but yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. Appreciate it. I'll see you guys. I will see you guys later. And